Everyone wants to become a millionaire. Very few ever will. Not because becoming a millionaire is impossible, but because most people think about wealth the wrong way. They treat becoming rich like a lottery, a lucky break, a perfect investment, a viral business, a sudden breakthrough, something dramatic, something exciting, something fast. But real wealth rarely works like that. The truth is far less exciting and far more powerful. Millionaires are not built through luck. They are built through systems, through discipline, through leverage, through repeated intelligent decisions made over years. That is what most people fail to understand. $1 million is not built in one giant moment. It is built through a sequence of decisions, step by step.
That is why this video matters. Because if you study people who consistently build wealth, entrepreneurs, investors, empire builders, you begin to notice something. They follow patterns, not identical paths, but identical principles. The names change, the industries change, the tools evolve, but the underlying system remains surprisingly similar. There is a roadmap, a sequence, a set of steps that repeatedly leads to wealth. And today, we are breaking down 6 of the most important ones. 6 steps that can take someone from financial chaos to their first million. This is not fantasy. This is not motivation. This is strategy. Because the goal is not to get rich quickly. The goal is to build wealth correctly. There is a massive difference. Fast money often disappears just as quickly. Built wealth stays. It compounds. It grows. It creates freedom. So if you want to build your first million, you need to think differently. Not like the average person, like a wealth builder. Let's begin. Step 1. Master your money before trying to multiply it. This is where almost everyone fails. They want more money, but they cannot manage the money they already have. And this is a serious problem, because money amplifies behavior. It does not fix behavior. If you are reckless with $1,000, you will likely be reckless with $100,000. If you cannot manage small amounts, large amounts will not save you. This is why the first step is not investing. It is control. Control over your financial behavior. Control over spending. Control over decisions. Control over impulses. Because wealth begins with discipline, not income. There are people earning 6 figures who are broke. There are business owners making impressive revenue with no real wealth. Why? Because earning money and keeping money are 2 completely different skills. And the second skill matters more. You cannot build wealth if money constantly escapes you. You must understand where your money goes. Every dollar has direction. Every expense tells a story. Most people avoid looking at the numbers. Wealth builders do the opposite. They study the numbers. They measure cash flow. They track spending. They create awareness. Because awareness creates control, and control creates power. This step sounds simple, but it changes everything. Because once you gain control over money, you stop behaving emotionally. You stop making decisions based on impulse. You stop spending for short-term pleasure. You begin thinking strategically. That is when wealth building truly begins. And once control exists, the second step becomes possible. Step 2. Create excess capital. This is where wealth becomes real. Because wealth cannot be built without capital. Capital is the fuel, the engine, the foundation. Without capital, there is nothing to invest, nothing to multiply, nothing to leverage. This is why your first mission is simple. Create a gap. A gap between what you earn and what you spend. That becomes capital. And capital changes everything. Most people eliminate this gap. The moment income rises, lifestyle rises with it. They earn more, then spend more. Bigger apartment, better car, more luxury, more subscriptions, more consumption.
This is one of the biggest traps in modern life: lifestyle inflation. It quietly destroys wealth. Because instead of building assets, people build expenses. And expenses create pressure. Pressure destroys freedom. Wealth builders understand this. They live below their means long enough to create serious capital. This does not mean living miserably. It means being strategic, being intentional, being disciplined. Because every dollar you do not consume becomes potential leverage, potential investment, potential opportunity. This is critical because opportunities always reward prepared people, not desperate people. When opportunity appears, capital matters. Without capital, you watch. With capital, you move. This is why capital creates power. It gives you options. It gives you flexibility. It gives you leverage. And leverage is where wealth accelerates. Which brings us to step 3. Step 3, increase your income through valuable skills. This is where most people start looking in the wrong places. They ask, where should I invest? Crypto? Stocks? Real estate? Wrong question. In the beginning, the better question is, how can I become more valuable? Because your greatest asset early on is not money. It is earning power. Your ability to create value. Your ability to solve expensive problems. Your ability to become difficult to replace. This matters enormously. Because income is not random. Income often reflects value. The market rewards people who solve meaningful problems, especially rare problems, especially expensive problems. This is why skills matter. The fastest way to increase income is often to increase value. Learn sales, learn business, learn marketing, learn negotiation, learn leadership, learn communication, learn high-value technical skills. These skills compound, and the market pays aggressively for competence. This is where many millionaires separate from average people. They invest heavily in themselves. They understand something powerful. Skills create cash flow. Cash flow creates capital. Capital creates investments. Investments create wealth. That is the chain. And every step matters. Skip one, and the system weakens. Master it, and wealth becomes much more predictable. Because once income rises and capital grows, the fourth step becomes essential. Step 4. Invest with patience and intelligence. This is where wealth starts behaving differently. Until now, everything was preparation. You gained control over money. You created capital. You increased income. Now comes the stage where money begins working for you. And this is the step most people completely misunderstand. Because when people hear the word investing, they imagine excitement, fast gains, explosive returns, huge wins. They chase speed. But real wealth is rarely built through excitement. It is built through patience, through discipline, through intelligent allocation of capital. The wealthiest people in history understood one simple truth. Money must be deployed. Idle money slowly loses power. Invested money can multiply. But where most people fail is here. They invest emotionally. They chase trends. They follow hype. They buy because others are buying. They panic because others are panicking. This is not investing. This is emotional gambling. And gambling destroys wealth. Wealth builders think differently. They ask, What creates value? What compounds over time? What has long-term upside? They focus on assets, businesses, stocks, real estate, ownership. Because ownership is powerful. When you own productive assets, wealth begins to compound beyond your labor. This is the turning point. Because labor has limits. You can only work so many hours. But capital does not sleep. Assets work 24 hours a day. This is where leverage becomes real. And the magic is not in extraordinary returns. This is important. Most people think wealth requires insane returns.
It doesn't. It requires consistency. A 10% annual return compounded over years becomes extraordinary. This is why patience matters so much. Because compounding rewards time. Not emotion, not excitement, time. Warren Buffett once said that wealth is built while you sleep. That is the power of compounding. Small gains become large gains. Large gains become fortunes. But only if you remain disciplined long enough. This is why great investors often seem boring. Because boring wins. Boring compounds. Boring gets rich. And this leads to a truth most people dislike. The biggest obstacle to wealth is often not lack of opportunity. It is lack of patience. People want results too fast. They quit too early. They change strategies too often. They sabotage compounding before it can work. Do not make that mistake. Think in decades, not weeks. Because once your capital begins compounding, wealth accelerates. And then something powerful happens. Your money starts generating more money. That changes the game. But to reach serious wealth, one more principle becomes essential. Step 5. Use leverage. This is where the wealthy separate themselves from everyone else. Average people trade time for money. Wealthy people use leverage. Leverage allows you to produce larger results with less direct effort. It multiplies output. It magnifies returns. And almost every large fortune is built using some form of leverage. The question is not whether leverage matters. The question is whether you understand how to use it. There are several forms of leverage: capital, people, technology, media, systems. The wealthy understand how to combine them. Let's simplify. Imagine two people. The first works alone. Every dollar earned depends entirely on personal effort. No systems, no team, no leverage. Income has a ceiling. Now imagine someone with leverage. They build systems, hire talent, deploy capital, use technology. Their effort creates multiplied outcomes. This changes everything. Because leverage breaks the linear relationship between effort and reward. This is why business owners scale faster than employees. This is why investors grow wealth faster than savers. This is why creators with media reach can build massive influence. Leverage expands power. But leverage is dangerous if used poorly. This matters. Leverage amplifies both intelligence and stupidity. Used well, it creates wealth. Used poorly, it creates disaster. Debt is leverage. It can build fortunes. It can also destroy lives. Technology is leverage. It can multiply productivity. It can also magnify bad decisions. This is why step 5 comes after discipline, after capital, after skill. Because leverage without discipline is dangerous. But with discipline, leverage becomes one of the most powerful wealth tools in existence. This is where fortunes scale. This is where wealth becomes exponential. And yet, even after all of this, one final step determines whether wealth survives. Step 6. Think long term. This is the rarest skill of all. Long-term thinking. In a world obsessed with instant results, this has become a superpower. Most people think short-term. short-term emotions, short-term pleasure.
Short-term decisions. This destroys wealth. Because wealth rewards long-term behavior. The wealthy think in years, sometimes decades. They understand that every major financial decision creates future consequences. Every choice compounds. Every action creates momentum. This changes how you behave. You stop asking, what feels good now? And start asking, what creates value later? That mindset changes everything. Because short-term thinking creates consumption. Long-term thinking creates wealth. Short-term thinking buys status. Long-term thinking buys assets. Short-term thinking seeks validation. Long-term thinking seeks freedom. This is why discipline matters so much. Because long-term thinking is difficult. It often feels boring. It often feels slow. It often feels unfair. Especially when others appear to get rich quickly. But appearances deceive. Fast wealth is often fragile. Built wealth is strong. Built wealth survives. Built wealth compounds across decades. This is what separates temporary success from lasting wealth. And once you understand this, the entire path becomes clear. Building your first million is not magic. It is not luck. It is not a mystery. It is a system. First, control money. Then create capital, increase income, invest intelligently, use leverage, think long-term. That is the roadmap. Simple, but not easy. Because the truth is this: building wealth is less about knowing what to do and more about having the discipline to actually do it. Most people will hear these principles and do nothing. They will continue living reactively, spending impulsively, thinking emotionally, waiting for luck. But a small percentage will act. They will think differently, move differently, build differently, and over time, their lives will look completely different. Because wealth changes more than bank accounts. It changes options. It changes freedom. It changes the way you live. And that is the true goal. Not money for status, not money for appearances. Money for freedom. Money for control. Money for optionality. Because true wealth is not about owning expensive things. It is about owning your time. And once you understand that, you stop chasing money emotionally. You start building wealth intelligently. One decision at a time. One step at a time. One disciplined move at a time. And eventually, those small steps build something extraordinary. Your first million, then your second, then far beyond that. Because wealth, in the end, is not built in giant leaps. It is built through disciplined repetition. The system works if you work the system.